It's a great honor to be with all of you today for this auspicious occasion to glorify Srila Gopal Krsna Maharaja on his Tirubhav. First, offer my respectful obeisances to Gopal Krsna Maharaja, Srila Prabhupada, and the Guru Parampara. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita, Gadadhara, Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It takes us so long here in this dark material world to come in contact with a pure devotee. Muktanam apisidhanam narayana parayana. There are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of munis and rishis. Muktanam apisidhanam, muktas, those who are liberated and are siddha. But a narayana parayana is the rarest of all, one who is 100% dedicated in pure devotion to Lord Krishna, Lord Narayan. And the gratitude one feels when coming in contact with a pure devotee is expressed by Uddhava. Uddhava mentions his gratitude to Krishna, but it's in relationship with the pure devotee. When he says that Naivo payantya pachitim kavayastavesha Ramayushapi kridim rida buddhasmaranta Yontarbahis tanubritam ashubam badunvan Acharya chaitya vapusha swagatim vyanakti. He says to Lord Krishna that you're so kind and I'm so grateful that I could not repay you for your kindness even if I had the duration of life of Lord Brahma. And he goes on to say that you appear in the heart of every living being, and you also appear externally. Yontar bahis, tanubratam ashuban badunban, in the form of a pure devotee. Why? To show your own path. In this world, people are enamored of the material energy. And Shukadeva Goswami says at the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam that that's all they like to talk about. All the varieties which are, as Prahlad Maharaj says, recycled. Same thing over and over again. Punak punas charvita charvananam. There's only one thing original and new in this world, and that's coming to the lotus feet of a pure devotee who speaks about Krishna from his or her heart, and thus awakens our love for Krishna. His Holiness Gopal Krsna Maharaja showed when he first came to the temple that he was a surrendered soul. And Srila Prabhupada, whose eyes were trained to spot those who were sincere, was always looking for those who were not only sincere, but also capable. And Holiness Gopal Krsna Maharaja fit those two criterion. And Prabhupada empowered him very quickly, even though he was content in any way to be a humble servant. That throughout his life in Krishna consciousness, he showed the kind of devotion that we can emulate. I was just listening before I came here to his last will and testament, which inspires me every time I hear it. Because what did he have? When the covers are removed and you see at the end, what did you have? Just service. I don't have anything else, he said. And if I do have anything else, it belongs to ISKCON. Please don't touch it. And any personal effects, those will be made available to the temples where, for instance, his deities will be worshipped. Not one person can do it, but the whole temple could take care of it in perpetuity in worshiping his deities. And also, in his last will and testament, he expressed his conviction and shraddha in Srila Prabhupada's manifestation of a home that everyone could live in. And he urged everyone to stay in that home despite any difficulty. Don't leave. He made it unequivocal that this was his path. He said, I've never stepped a foot outside of ISKCON. He said, please, all of you, follow this course. Stay within ISKCON. It's Srila Prabhupada's gift to us so that we can follow the path of pure devotional service. Don't invent anything. He also mentioned that, not in the last will and testament, although he said, I don't have any books besides some compilations of the lectures that he had given. He said, I don't have any copyrights on these. And he said also at another time, I didn't write any books. Prabhupada's books are enough. And regarding books, he heard early on from Srila Prabhupada how much he wanted his books distributed. And showing the path of success in devotional service, which is to listen very carefully to the words of the spiritual master and to, if possible, understand, intuit what is the innermost desire of the Guru. He did that. And he was an exemplar, or I could say the exemplar, of one who took to the path of printing and distributing Prabhupada's books all over the world, a champion of the cause everywhere he went. So much so that all of his followers, wherever they were, could be seen and still can be seen to be dedicated to that mission of Srila Prabhupada as expressed through His Holiness Gopal Krsna Maharaja. My inspiration when I was listening to the devotees read his last will and testament, and afterwards I was listening to a lecture by Maharaj, and he was very straightforward. Nothing off the beaten track, nothing flowery. Prabhupada's books and straightforward, direct Krishna Katha that anyone could listen to and say, yes, I think I could try to do that. And some, in various eras, would think, well, he's not flashy enough. We want flashy. In the beginnings of Krishna consciousness movement, there were many trends, wearing huge neck beads or special effects. Prabhupada made comments about this. Even Srila Bhaktisiddhanta noted it in his mutts. He said, no foppery means don't try to show off with fancy stuff. Just be a good devotee. Don't try to be a great devotee. And His Holiness Gopal Krsna Maharaja was not showy. He was a strict follower of Srila Prabhupada and the Guru Parampara, and gave straightforward advice about how to practice Krishna consciousness, following in the way Prabhupada did, working very hard, vigorously in fact, to expand the Krishna consciousness movement so that other people could come and take advantage. In my interactions with him, I took away in a very heartfelt way, some of his advice, and from the interactions I still remember. One of them was when he listened to a talk I gave about book distribution, and I talked about the 4 laws of book distribution. And at the end he came over, he said, there should be 5. And then he told me a story. He said, when I first took it up on Prabhupada's order, I had an idea. I would go the professional route. He went to a famous bookseller and arranged for Prabhupada's books to be put on display for an entire month with a special offer. And he put everything he could into it. But at the end he came to Prabhupada and said, it didn't go so well, not the way I expected. And he said to me, Prabhupada told me that is because my books are sold by the enthusiasm of my disciple. He said, this should be the fifth law. That you have to have enthusiasm. That's what compels people to take anything, to take to the process of Krishna consciousness and to take a book. And that was apparent in Maharaj when we would stay at Govardhana Hill during Kārtik. Every year he would come on parikramā with thousands of devotees. The Govardhana ashram is a quiet place. And during the festival season, sometimes during the day, a yātrā will come in and swarm the place for half an hour, and then go away. Maharaj was so personal that he would stop in to see any of his godbrothers, whatever room they were in. And I can remember many times when he would just burst in the room, and then the room would be flooded because devotees would come in with him. And sometimes I'd be sitting doing a pūjā or getting ready for something, and all of a sudden the door would fling open and Maharaj would come in with his devotees. And we'd offer obeisances. He would grab my hand and he'd always have some encouraging words to say. He would say something personal. And it was 99.9% of the time about book distribution. That we have to distribute more, we have to double it. And he would say encouraging things. And he would stop in and see other godbrothers, and then he would go on his way. When he came here to ISV, we invariably asked him to make a video for us. Luckily we have those, and we have the pictures of them. When one of the times I remember he sat outside there in front of the hedge in a chair, and we had all the camera set up, and he had the microphone. And it was a blissful time that we had to sit around him and feel that here's one of the most senior, most leaders in our movement, and he's a book distributor. And he's for us. And he would take the time to sit down and go through the rigors of making a video. Did that go through? Did that take? Fix the microphone, move a little to the left. Move. He didn't mind, because he knew the influence he would have by advocating for book distribution. So he would take the time to do that. And we would sit with him and listen to him speak. And it did have a huge effect on people all over the world, as it still is now. Last year, because the devotees were dedicating their activities and distributing books to Maharaj, then they were especially inspired, which is also the mode of the devotees after their spiritual master leaves the world. where to take shelter. And the tirubhav means when the light of the spiritual master's personal presence goes out, then what light does one follow? One must follow the order of the spiritual master. And one must reconstitute everything one's heard and seen in one's guru to understand how to conduct one's own life. How did my guru speak? How would, if he made a decision about a particular issue that's going on? We, all of you who are his disciples and all of us who are his loving godbrothers and anyone else, have a catalog of all he said and the way he said it and the way he reacted to circumstances that we can remember and bring out as we go through the maze, which is the material world, and trying to find our way through this darkness and conduct our services. A heartfelt moment I had with Maharaj was after there was some discord here at ISV. There, one group had split off, and they had sort of undercover been cultivating a separate society. And I had lost sleep over that. A lot of sleep. I'm still trying to catch up. And I had gone to Vrindavan as usual for Govardhana parikramā during the Kārtik time. And I happened to meet Maharaj in front of the MVT, so I figured I'd take shelter and ask him for his blessings. And he could tell I was distraught, so he held my hand. This is his mode. He's very personal. He held my hand as I was talking to him, telling him the situation. And he held it for several minutes, maybe 5 minutes. And I felt that this is a Vaishnav who'll stop and listen and take to heart what you're saying. And I also appreciate it because I knew he'd been through all that and more. If you're going to preach, you can't have a weak heart. You have to be ready to handle reversals. And I felt like I was talking to the seasoned general who had been around the world, who had been through all of the reversals that one could go through, which are inevitable when one teaches and preaches Krishna consciousness around the world, and when one takes responsibility and takes a risk. And at the end he said, "It's a very ungrateful world." And he let go of my hand. And I felt that I had been understood and appreciated. He set that mode. I remember in Toronto a couple times, because we would go there regularly and still do, and it was one of his main centers. He would hold forth, he'd make time sitting in a room, and people would go in and out all day long to talk to him. And Nirkula and I would go there and just talk to Maharaj. And he would be very charming. "How are you? Hope all is well. How's things at ISV?" And it was a very heartfelt experience to be with him and to feel his appreciation and love for his God siblings. And now all of you have this opportunity to make advancement in Krishna consciousness with whatever duration of life you have by dedicating yourself in a similar way. He showed this trajectory of coming into Krishna consciousness, very unusual. Most people were young and either half-educated or not at all, because they didn't have time before they joined the Krishna conscious movement, graduates, what to speak of those engaged in some gainful employment were extremely rare in the ISKCON movement at that time. Maybe a few cab drivers. But he was highly placed. And it was a revelation to all of us as well that an Indian would join the Krishna consciousness movement. At least there was one that we knew of. Of course, there were a few more. And the movement in India was fledgling. It had not taken hold as it has now. Not just taken hold, it's swelling like a tidal wave. But he came, and Prabhupada recognized his spiritual demeanor and impetus, and he also saw that he was a professional. What a great relief for Prabhupada. It happened several times when he'd see highly qualified personalities come in, or Govinda Maharaj had come and he'd given him first, second, and sannyas initiation. Please help. Take care. And Gopal Krsna Maharaja, in a similar vein, Prabhupada recognized talent when he saw it. And he saw it in Gopal Krsna Maharaja and gave him so much encouragement and support. And one person who has simple devotion, that simple in the way that I'm going to follow my spiritual master. You can hear it in his last will and testament. Just take the straightforward path. Read all of Prabhupada's books. Stay in ISKCON. Don't stray here and there. Nothing else needed. And became more and more apparent, and unfortunately you don't know what you got till it's gone. Oftentimes we take everything for granted, or mostly for granted, while we're amidst our beloved associates, what to speak of our master, or exalted godbrothers and sisters. But life is short. It goes by very quickly. And last year, while we were all in Vrindavan, and we had an observance for Gopal Krsna Maharaja, so many devotees came forward to tell about the service that he had done and the ways they had interacted with him. And we began to see those of us who were not with him regularly, and who can be, unless you're there all the time, traveling with somebody and living in the same place, you don't know all the facets of their life. But through all the devotees who had known him at different times and places and eras, we began to see more and more of his unlimited qualities that were shining forth, and a deeper appreciation for him grew in all of our hearts. And this is part of the Tirobhav also, that you can remember to take advantage of association while you have it. Because we can't assume that we're going to have another opportunity, that it'll always be like this. No, it won't. We get a few opportunities, at most sometimes. And why not try to appreciate the qualities of Vaishnavas while they're still here? Because inevitably after they leave, then we'll see the full scope, or it will be fleshed out more and more by hearing from others about the greatness of the devotees' service and so forth. And sitting in that assembly in Vrindavan, one devotee after another, and I would think, oh, did that person also serve with Gopal Krsna Maharaja? Very advanced senior devotees, and they were all very deeply touched. So one can emulate this, because he showed this, how to follow the simple path strictly. As Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said. He said, follow the simple path, but follow it strictly. And that was Gopal Krsna Maharaja's penchant for being very strict in following Prabhupada's straightforward, simple path of devotional service. So we haven't yet sung the song of separation, which is the proper thing to do on the Tirabhav of the Acharya. So we'll sing this song, Jai Anilo Premadana. Yeah, just after this. Do you want to speak? What would you prefer? Okay.
I'm not tall like you. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Panchakalpotru prasya kripasindu vyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I didn't have much or very little. I had very little association with His Holiness Gopal Krsna Maharaja. But the association I had with him was always him showing a fatherly demeanor with the devotees, whether it was or big brother, I should say. With his godbrothers and godsisters, he was the big brother. With his disciples, he was his father, very fatherly. We were in Mayapur this year, and I was remembering Gopal Krsna Maharaj because when we stayed there, we used to see him come take his walk from the temple area out towards the Goshaal. And he had these rainbow sneakers. That showed he had some pizzazz, he had some personality there. And I missed it. I missed seeing him there. And he was so powerful. He was so strong and gentle at the same time. The GBC gets a lot of flack, but they've really held ISKCON together from the early days after Srila Prabhupada left, when there was a lot of, chaos, really. And that's what happens when the Acharya leaves. There can be a lot of not getting along and just a lot of confusion. And he was one of the strong personalities that held the movement together up until the end. And I always admired that about him. He was completely loyal to Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada's desires and mission and mood. And to have that example is something we all need and all cherish. And as all of our godbrothers, Prabhupada disciples, we know that pain of losing your spiritual master and what that means. And it's very difficult in the beginning, I would say. You feel lost, you can feel confused, you can feel like, how can you go on? But if you just keep following the order and the instruction and the example of your Guru Maharaj, you will succeed. And you'll develop that internal relationship, which is what we all have to strive for. And when the spiritual master leaves, we have no choice but to develop that inner relationship. We're all fortunate in that we have each other. We have senior devotees who can help and guide us and understand what we've gone through. And so take advantage of that and just continue following his example. And when you do keep doing your service, and when you do keep being inspired by his example and his instructions, that relationship will naturally grow that bond will naturally grow stronger, and you won't ever feel separated. Just as Srila Prabhupada said, he was never separated from his Guru Maharaj. And who better, to give us that example? We know that by taking that instruction, whatever that example was, to heart, that is the epitome of a first-class disciple. And that certainly is and was who Gopal Krsna Maharaj was. I feel honored to call him my godbrother. I feel honored to have had his example, and I keep it in my heart as something to strive for. And I pray that all of you feel his strength and your relationship grows stronger and stronger. And if I can be of any service in that way or in any way, please let me know. Hare Krishna.
We just have a few minutes, so I just thought if you have any reflections you'd like to share, anything you want to say, because sharing means caring.
I always remember when I see Maharaj will immediately said, I met Vaisesika Prabhu. So it kind of felt good to me that he connected me with Vaisesika Prabhu, that I felt that father has given a child to an uncle to adopt. So I always got the feeling that how much he cherished seeing me and he remembering Vaisesika Prabhu. So I always derived so much joy and pleasure that he felt that I was protected and sheltered. And all the moments that you two both had was always about the book distribution. And Vaisesika Prabhu is always asking, Maharaj, bless us so we can beat Delhi. Until the point that Maharaj said, okay, you can beat Delhi. And every time when he meets Vaisesika Prabhu, Maharaj will share things with me. And it gave me so much joy that I'm at the place that I shouldn't take it for granted. And how open he was, that he wanted me to get engaged in the service of Vaisesika Prabhu and Mother Nirakula. So, I miss his Bapu, but I feel his presence through you. I'm getting stomach cramps. When he met Nirakula Mataji, Mother Nirakula said that she had a very limited interaction with Maharaj. But I happened to be having a good fortune to go with Mother Nirakula to Maharaj's room in Vrindavan. And of course, Maharaj was going through so many things, but he did give us a time. And when Nirakula Mataji walked in, I mentioned, this is Mother Nirakula, wife of Vaisesika Prabhu. And you should have seen how his face lightens up. No matter how tired he was he was always glowing, but he just see this like a huge smile on his face, and his eyes were like so glowing, and he just wanted to so happily know her. And he immediately said to his servant, his disciple, and said, give a garland to her. I don't know if you recall that. And he just immediately garlanded her. And Maharaj had been indirectly a little bit worried about me because I've been not always the best child. But Maharaj, when he heard from Mother Nirakula that I'm not just marrying anyone, and I knew that he wouldn't believe me. So when Mother Nirkula mentioned about Radha Vallabh Prabhu, and when she told a little bit about him, that was the game changer. And Maharaj was so happy, and you should have seen his smile even got even more bigger. So I have such a good memory of Maharaj meeting Mother Nirkula, and I can't thank enough to both of you to be in the shelter. And as we're going through this transition of trying to survive or trying to connect through the Vani, but both of your example of following Srila Prabhupada. And I think Vaisesika Prabhu mentioned that for some time he felt like the ground moved from his feet. And he said a little bit later he just got back into the service. So on this auspicious divine disappearance day of my spiritual master, I beg both of your mercy in front of witnessing of all the devotees here, that please grant me that blessing, that I can serve my Guru Maharaj like how you have served Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Bali Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I would like to also thank ISB that we have, this is the fourth special events we did for His Holiness Gopal Krsna Maharaja. We did a memorial. We did a subsequent, when Maharaj departed from this world, we did a program here. And also, if you have not heard this message, when Vaisesika Prabhu was there in Vrindavan for the opening of the Samadhi ceremony, he gave also a beautiful offering to Maharaj. And the keynote is just, we did one of the greatest GKG 5000 for this last year. You remember Bhadra Purnima. So that was also led by His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu on glorification of Gopal Krsna Maharaj. And also we are very thankful that we are able to celebrate this disappearance ceremony here at ISB, and all the cooperations of the devotees which came from ISKCON Berkeley, ISKCON Sacramento, and many parts, as well as our local congregation at ISB for cooking, cleaning, and contributing, decorating, and many other services, which is led by Hansapriya and Ananda Vrindavan. And definitely, it's the first such an event we are doing. We are very doubtful whether to conduct such programs or not. I was talking to Janardhan Maharaj also. He recommended, yes, we can definitely, as long as devotees are coming on a special occasion like 70th birthday, 80th, or something special, it's a first disappearance, it makes sense. And one thing I wanted to say, that when Maharaj visited, Nirkula Mataji said he has a very brief interaction with Maharaj, but it is not brief, it is a lot. So because Maharaj one time asked me also in driving in a car, who is Guru Ma? Because many people say we took blessings from, I said, Guru Ma is Vaisesika Prabhu's wife. Oh, okay. Then next time also then he knows, okay, how is Guru Ma? He will say very affectionately. So that's why Maharaj has a deep affection. And whenever I go, my first question Maharaj will ask, either met in Delhi or in Vrindavan, how is the book distribution going on? And then Maharaj also will ask the second question, which Prabhu mentioned about our competitors, how they are performing, so that whether we are able to cope up or transcend them. So in all the situations, Maharaj has given blessings, and he has given full his heart. One day he come for Berkeley, one night he come for ISB all the time, and give his transcendental association. We like to thank Maharaj for coming, and we like to thank also Vaisesika Prabhu and Nirkula Mataji for giving shelter to all the GKG disciples here to serve at ISB and serve in the Sankirtan movement, which is very dear to His Holiness Gopal Krsna Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
I just have one last memory, and then it's time for prasadam. And it was at the old temple when he came, and we had the most uncomfortable vyasasana in the movement. We could have won an award for that. And Maharaj gave a long class on that, sitting on the vyasasana. I don't know. Most people used a chair, but he wouldn't use the chair. I remember that. We tried to give him a chair. No chair. Vyasasana. So he sat on the Vyasasana, and then it was a long class, long enough on that Vyasasana. And he didn't say a word till he got off, and the crowd was moving, and he came up to me and he said, "Get something else. That really hurt." And I really appreciated how tolerant he was. He didn't make a fuss. He sat there. It was torturous, but he sat there for a whole hour and just held forth and spoke Krishna Katha. He didn't say anything till afterwards, and it was just one sentence. So part of the celebration on the departure of one's spiritual master and an acharya is to honor prasadam sumptuously. And here tonight we're going to feed not just everyone here, but anyone who you know in any other state or country. Call them, come on down here. I'd like to feed everyone in the Bay Area. Beautiful prasadam, which will be served in the picnic area just outside. And then there'll be room for devotees to sit in the classrooms and elsewhere. Okay.